The stars are right, and that means it's time for another episode of The Whisper in Darkness. I'm your host, the Manfromleng. Thank you very much for joining me today. Welcome to the stream, everyone. No, not more spoilers today, David. This is, we are going to take a look at the new Investigator. An old Investigator, a new take on an old Investigator. That's right, we are going to take a look at Parallel Daisy today. Parallel Daisy Walker, who was announced on Tuesday. And we are going to take a look at her card. We are going to take a look at some of the deck building options with her. And we are going to play her new challenge scenario, Read or Die. Hi, David. Hi, Balas. Hi, Aegeus. Welcome to the stream. Glad you could make it. Yes, we have lots of content for the Arkham Horror LCG this week. We had our spoilers yesterday, and today we are talking about Daisy Walker, the Parallel Investigator. Hi, Benjamin. Welcome to the stream. Hope everyone is having a fantastic day so far. I spent the morning building a Daisy Walker deck, which I have not done in quite a long time. Daisy is not an investigator I have played a lot of. At least not recently. I guess that's one of the problems when you've got as many investigators as we do now. Some get played more than others, and I don't tend to play a lot of Seekers, so I am looking forward to digging into to Daisy today and taking a closer look at her parallel cards as well as her as a possible deck in the challenge scenario. Like I said on the stream yesterday, they have really done the FFG's designers, Matt Newman and Jeremy Zorin, have done a fantastic job of late building on the Arkham Horror LCG. We've been receiving so much content of late that it's fantastic. Welcome, Leander Rowan. Welcome, Juicy. Welcome to the stream. Just fantastic content. I think a lot of players expected us to receive parallel investigators at some point in the game's future. We all know that there is a limited number of investigators to work with in the Arkham Horror Files property. The designers have been working to rectify that problem by creating several new investigators, some of which we've seen that will be released in the Investigator Starter Deck products later this year. I'm thinking of Nathaniel Cho and Winifred and Stella in particular. So they are certainly up to creating new investigators, but the Parallel Investigator print and plays give them a chance to also take another look back at some of the older investigators in the game and offer a new take on them now that we have a much larger card pool to work with, perhaps explore new abilities and whatnot. And so Daisy Walker is our first parallel investigator, and from the spoiler article they released on Tuesday, we can expect more to come in the following months. We are doing Read or Die today, Gbort, so we shall see how that goes. So we're going to receive more parallel investigators in the months to come. I'm looking forward to seeing who will be chosen. Personally, it'd be interesting to see what they do with somebody like Skids, because he doesn't see a lot of love. I'm trying to think if there are any other investigators that I would like them to revisit. Not offhand. I think pretty much every. I just love all the content they put out. So the more investigators we have to work with, the more deck building options we have. And I think in particular, we expected parallel investigators, but to not only get parallel investigators, but also advanced signature cards, as well as a challenge scenario that you can drop into your campaigns or play in standalone mode is just, that's just going above and beyond. for the designers. So really good stuff here. Before I get started, I just want to thank the patrons of this channel for their tremendous support. These people are awesome, and they help keep the lights on here on the plateau. If you'd like to become a patron of the channel, head over to patreon.com, sign up for a tier of your choice, and claim your rewards. That would be awesome. We have... So, first of all, let's take a look at the Parallel Investigator rules. These are just taken from the PDF that was posted on Tuesday. So when you're building a Parallel Investigator deck, I assume the rules will be the same for all the Parallel Investigators. They speak specifically about Daisy, but I'm sure they'll be the same for others. You get to choose whether you use the original version or the parallel version, both her front side and her back side. So you can, each version has its own advantages and disadvantages. You can also mix and match the two versions, which means you can use both original sides, both parallel sides, the original front and the parallel back, or the parallel front and the original back. So there is a lot of, between... That's 4 different versions there, and then if you throw in the advanced signature cards, you have 8 different combinations of Daisy that you can play. I'm not too sure what they are going to do over at Arkham DB to signify which Daisy build people are using. There are so, the way the deck builder is set up now, they would have to basically create... a couple different versions of each investigator startup. So I'm sure the people who take care of that will have got a handle on it. So I don't see that being a problem. But it's fantastic for deck builders. They get a lot of different options to play around with, and as we shall see, there are some interesting choices to be made if. Interesting choices to be made when you're building with her. So here is the we have the original and the parallel version of Daisy, her front side. So the original Daisy was 3 willpower, 5 intellect, 2 combat, and 2 agility. She had 5 health and 9 sanity, and you may take an additional action during your turn, which can only be used to trigger actions on tome abilities, and her Elder Sign effect was +0, and if you succeed, you draw 1 card for each tome you control. Now, the parallel Daisy has 1 willpower, 5 intellect, 2 combat, and 2 agility. She has 5 health and 7 sanity, so her sanity drops a little bit by 2. And her special ability, however, brings her back up to basically where her original was. You get +1 willpower and +1 sanity for each tome asset you control. And she has a free triggered ability, 1 at a time, resolve the action ability on each tome asset you control, ignoring their action cost, limit once per game, and her Elder Sign effect is +1, and you may return a tome asset from your discard pile to your hand. Now, we are going to receive a whole boatload of new Seeker cards coming up here, just between... just looking at the Investigator starter decks, we've got a whole deck worth of Seeker cards to come, as well as new Innsmouth cards. So it's going to be tough to talk about her deck building options. I think right now the original is still better than the parallel version, simply because... that 1 willpower is rough, but I don't really consider it too big a deal, because once you get a couple of tomes in play, which should not take too much work, she'll be back up to 3 willpower in no time. Welcome to the stream, Bobby. The Parallel Investigators are new print-and-play investigators that you can download from FFG's website, and you can print them off and play them. They come with a parallel investigator, a parallel and advanced signature cards, as well as a scenario, a challenge scenario for each for the investigator. And Daisy's the only one at the moment. So 1 willpower is pretty rough. The difference between having 1 willpower and 2 willpower is huge. Because with things like Rotting Remains, if you're at 2 willpower, you still have a hope of passing it, even if you just draw at random from the Chaos bag. When you're at 1 willpower, that option is gone, and you're basically going to be eating a lot of willpower tests to the face, which can hurt a lot in some scenarios more than others. As someone who is playing The Secret Name recently with Winifred, who also has 1 willpower, there are so many willpower tests in that particular scenario that it can get pretty rough pretty quickly. Now, I don't think this 1 willpower is going to hurt Daisy too badly, just because she will have a couple of tomes in play. That won't take her too long as you put enough tomes in her deck. So she should be back up to 2 or 3 willpower in no time flat. And she will also gain sanity for each tome, so she'll be back up to 9, possibly even 10 or 11 sanity. So the upside is she can get a higher willpower with her. If you have enough tomes in play, her willpower will be higher than original Daisy, as well as her sanity. So that's good. Now, I think the real difference right now is their ability. Regular Daisy gets an additional action during each turn, which you can use to trigger tome abilities, and the parallel Daisy basically gets 1 big turn where you trigger every tome you've got in play in one spectacular explosion of reading, and you fire off all of those abilities at once. However, it is limit once per game. That is, I think, original Daisy's ability is stronger. I think I would much rather have an additional action each turn rather than 1 turn where I fire off 5 tomes or 6 tomes or something like that. I mean, it's a ton of actions, but when you look at sort of what the tomes do, a lot of them, like Encyclopedia, give you a +2 skill value. Others let you not reveal chaos tokens. Others let you search your deck. So you're going to have 1 big turn. I'd rather spread out those actions across the entire game, because if you get a tome like Old Book of Lore, say, because it's a standard in Daisy decks, if you get Old Book of Lore down early and the game lasts 12 or 13 turns, you're gaining a lot of actions spread out over the course of that game. If you trigger Daisy, parallel Daisy, you're going to get a bunch of actions in one turn, and then she is effectively blanked. Her special ability doesn't work anymore, so all you're getting then from then on is her sanity and willpower boost, as well as her Elder Sign effect. I think the Elder Sign effects, I would also give it to original Daisy. Drawing 1 card for each tome that you have in play, that is card draw wins games. And so if you have a couple of tomes in play, you're drawing a couple cards. Returning Parallel Daisy lets you return tome assets from your discard pile to your hand, which, while useful, I'm not too sure how many tomes are going to end up in your discard pile. I guess if you're playing tomes and replacing them or overwriting them with other tomes, you may end up having tomes in your discard pile. They can also end up there due to encounter card effects and whatnot, but I think I would rather have the card draw. So there are pros and cons to both to Daisy's ability. Now, Parallel Daisy's ability depends a lot on how many tomes that you have in play. So how many can we get? Well, you can have Daisy can have 2 with her hands. She can put 2 in the tote bag, And then you can also, there is a way to get a 5th tome in play. Narcotic Manuscripts is the only tome relic in the game that you can dump on Dr. Ellie Horowitz. So Dr. Ellie Horowitz can search your deck for a Narcotic Manuscripts and store it on her. So you could have a total of 5 tome cards in play. Ryan says versatile scavenging has been a common upgrade to get all those tomes back. So yeah, that's the thing. I don't play Daisy a lot, so it's or at all recently. So I'm not entirely sure how good that special ability is. I see the card draw and I like that, but if you're dipping in for versatile to grab a scavenging to get those tomes back, then having this new ability on Parallel Daisy will be good. So you can have a total of 5 tomes in play if you with a little bit of trickery. So we'll take a look at some of the tomes that are more of an option here. So the back sides of the daisies are also I think quite interesting. Original Daisy, of course, is Seeker cards level 0 to 5, Mystics level 0 to 2, Neutrals 0 to 5. The Parallel Daisy is Tome cards level 0 to 5, Seeker cards level 0 to 3, Neutral cards 0 to 5, and up to 5 other level 0 Guardian and or Mystic cards. So you could play Original Daisy with the Parallel back, or Parallel Daisy with the original back if you want to mix and match. So a lot of the Parallel Daisy opens up some new deck building options for sure that are definitely worth exploring. So if you are going with Parallel Daisy, what are you giving up? If you go Parallel Daisy, you are giving up your level 4 and 5 Seeker cards. Now, these are the level 4 and 0 and level 5 cards. There's not, with the exception of the tomes, the tomes she gets to keep. So the cards that really stand out to me is something like Cryptic Research, which is card draw. I know some people enjoy playing Deciphered Reality in multiplayer to grab a lot of clues. I'm not too sure what the Miskatonic Archaeology funding does. I think that was one of the cards spoiled by either Mythos Busters or Drawn to the Flame. No Stone Unturned 5. I mean, that's a good tutor, but I don't. I haven't played it myself. Notable is Strange Solution. You cannot play any of the strange solutions in this version in the parallel version of Daisy. Eye of Truth from Weaver of the Cosmos was Matt Newman's favorite card of the cycle. You wouldn't be able to play that in Parallel Daisy either. I think the big card that you lose though is Abigail Foreman, the new Seeker ally from Weaver of the Cosmos. Abigail is custom made for investigators who have tomes in general and Daisy in particular. I couldn't find art for her. I know she's been spoiled elsewhere. And she has the asset and ally, costs 3, 4 experience points, 1 health, 2 sanity. You can attach a tome asset to her in your play area to Abigail, and then you can switch the tomes between her and your play area. So between Abigail, she does something similar to what you could do with Ellie with the Narcotic Manuscripts. She can hold a tome for you, so you can have 5 tomes. And then after you trigger a tome ability, an action ability on an attached tome asset, you can exhaust Abigail to resolve that effect again. So if you upgrade to Old Book of Lore, say Old Book of Lore 3, you get to you can trigger it once. If you've got this attached to Abigail, you could trigger it using Old Daisy, that sounds terrible. Original Daisy's free action during the turn, and then trigger Abigail to trigger it again. So you could search your top 3 cards for 2 cards, and then you could spend 2 secrets if you wanted to reduce the cost of both cards by 2. So you're getting a lot of value there from Abigail. Unfortunately, Parallel Daisy cannot play Abigail, so she's just got to rely on herself to hold her tome. So that's what you're going to be giving up if you go the Parallel Daisy route. So you are also giving, if you go Parallel Daisy back, you are also giving up your level 2 Mystic cards, which not a huge loss, I think, as far as Daisy goes. Alchemical Transmutation, no, that's just not worth it. Counterspell is nice. I was planning to build a Mind's Eye deck, which I played a Mind's Eye deck with Norman Withers, and it worked really, really well. And I'm looking forward to playing a Mind's Eye deck with Daisy. Mind's Eye, though, is the type of card that you build around. It's not something you just drop in your deck and hope for the best. So that's not a great loss to Parallel Daisy. Probably the card that I would miss the most if I was playing multiplayer in particular is Ward of Protection 2, because that can really be a huge card in a multiplayer setting. Being able to cancel treacheries drawn by other investigators is a big deal. So if you're playing Parallel Daisy in multiplayer, you won't have access to that Ward of Protection. Now you can dip into we'll see in a moment, you can dip into the Guardian pool for some other cards that can play around with the encounter cards that you draw, but Ward of Protection 2 is off limits. So is Ward of Command, but that's not a big deal, considering you're probably not going to be playing well. I mean, if you do play spells in Daisy, it would be okay, but yeah, you won't have access to that in Parallel Daisy. So what do you gain by playing Parallel Daisy? Well, there aren't that many tomes that she adds to the list of... most of the tomes are secret cards to begin with, so she only adds a couple to her list. She gets Book of Shadows 3. She also gets to keep Book of Shadows 1. She gets to keep De Vermis Mysteris, Signs of the Black Stars. She gets to add Grimm's Fairy Tales from the Stella Clark deck, and she gets to keep. She gets to add, Scroll of Secrets 3 from For the Greater Good. Now, Book of Shadows 3 from the core set has never been a particularly good card. Original Daisy couldn't take it because it's worth 3 experience points. It does give you an additional arcane slot, and it does let you exhaust it to add a charge to a spell asset. I'm not too sure whether it's going to see a ton of play in Parallel Daisy. It wasn't a good card to begin with, and I'm not sure that Parallel Daisy makes it any better. You can get the advanced tote bag, which you can play the Book of Shadows, as a fast ability rather than as an action. But if you're not playing spells in Parallel Daisy, then this book isn't going to do anything. Scroll of Secrets, I was kind of down on the card when I did my review way back when. I think because we're getting, we're going to have, we've got Old Book of Lore 3 and stuff like this. This sort of, I haven't had a chance to play with this sort of manipulation effect very much. Spending 3 experience points on it seemed like a lot to me, considering that the level 0 version does pretty much the same thing. So I don't know if that's a big pickup. Grimm's Fairy Tales is an interesting choice from the Stella Clark deck. We did play it in when we did our playthrough with Stella Clark last week, and I wasn't overly impressed by it. I don't think I ever used it in either game. You might actually be able to play it now in Parallel Daisy if you wanted her to fill that healing role. You could have Grimm's Fairy Tales, and you could pick up Hallowed Mirror from the Guardian card pool to get Soothing Melody. So you could, between Grimm's Fairy Tales and Soothing Melody, you would have a fair amount of damage and horror healing ability. The thing about Grimm's Fairy Tales is that you have got to the investigator at your location has to fail a skill test by 2 or more in order to get that healing. So there is you have to put in a little bit of work. So that is another option for Parallel Daisy decks. So overall, I'm not really crazy about any of the tomes from outside the Seeker card pool. I know we're getting Seleno Fragments in the Harvey Walters deck. That's I would have probably played it in the deck I was going to play today if I had if I had it. I didn't have it loaded into Octagon, unfortunately. So there are some options now. Daisy can also instead of going Mystic, you can also go into the Guardian card pool and take 5 Guardian cards. I looked through the Guardian card pool, and I wasn't. I had trouble finding cards that really excited me. I mean, the Guardian card pool is so heavy on weapons, and I don't think Daisy's going to be. I mean, it's nice that she has the option to pick up a weapon, because the Seeker card pool is very combat light. I mean, you've basically got I've got a plan, and I think your other card, there's like Persuasion and maybe a couple others that let you deal with enemies. So if you need to deal with enemies, picking up a Guardian weapon is one way to do it. If you don't need the weapon, then your choices, you've got something like Hallowed Mirror. I think that's attractive. Although it does take the accessory slot, so it's going to compete with cards like St. Hubert's Key for that accessory slot. Of course, you can upgrade to the I can't remember the name now. The asset from the permanent from Essex County Express that lets you play multiple accessories. You could also dip into the Guardian card pool for some chaos bag and counter deck manipulation. You could grab a card like First Watch, which I've seen do some really good work in multiplayer. Relic Hunter, that's the one I'm thinking of. Thank you very much, Leander. Yeah, she could take physical training, Chad, but yeah, I'm not sure why you would want that. I mean, it would depend on what kind of deck you're playing and what kind of who you're paired up with. But I don't see Daisy being the beat stick in multiplayer, even if she can take the Guardian weapons. First Watch has done some good work. You've also got the option of Dodge, which gives Daisy a way to fend off an attack. You've also got Let Me Handle This, which so if you were playing Daisy could, once Daisy gets set up, she could grab willpower and intellect treacheries from other people at the table. There are obviously willpower treacheries are a dime a dozen in encounter decks, and you can also grab. There are a fair number of intellect skill tests. You could also take the initiative, of course, as Juicy mentions in the chat. That's another one. You've got, as far as allies go, there's Alice would add an intellect, so she'd be running at 6, and then if you discovered a clue, you could deal a damage at an enemy at your location. That might be a nice support card if you were playing to support one of your say the Guardian in the group by softening up enemies and whatnot. But those were just the card. I mean, there's sort of the Guardian cards that make the cut in most Guardian decks, and then a bunch of other cards that don't see quite as much play. These are the ones that stood out to me. Alice is interesting, but again, I mean, she takes up your ally slot. So is that something that is she strong enough to warrant being in that ally slot until you can, say, pick up charisma to give yourself lots of different allies? So yeah, there are some very it's going to change up deck building, that's for sure. If you can now you've got a Guardian Daisy or a Mystic Daisy, that will be, I'm looking forward to seeing what players do with that. We also have the advanced signature cards that are print and play. So regardless of which Daisy you use, you may also use the optionally upgrade her signature cards to her advanced signature cards, replacing the original versions. You can only include them as a set, so unlike the replacement cards that came out in the books, the replacements you could use. You could include both sets in a deck if you wanted to. This you have to choose, so you either use the new tote bag and the new Necronomicon, or the old tote bag and the old Necronomicon. You can't mix and match. So and you can do it any time. So you can start off the campaign. You can just say, "Screw it, I'm going with the new cards," or you can wait a few scenarios and then switch over when you feel a little bit more confident. Obviously, when whether you decide to use those cards depends a lot on their abilities. Now, I think the Daisy's tote bag, the advanced version, is, I think, just clearly better than the old version. You get the Daisy's tote bag. The original version had a willpower skill icon, an intellect skill icon, and a wild. Daisy Walker deck only, and you just basically gave you 2 hand slots. The new tote bag does the exact same thing, but it gives you an additional wild icon, and you has a response that you can trigger the tote bag when you play a tome asset to make it fast. So this is the one way that I think Parallel Daisy can try to keep up with Original Daisy in terms of actions. So whereas Original Daisy would have to sort of play the asset, and then she can get a free trigger with her special ability each round. If Parallel Daisy can get down the tote bag, she gets to play the tome for free, and then she takes the action to trigger it. So sort of reversing when you get that free trigger. Now, of course, Original Daisy can also play the new tote bag, so she can not only play a tome for free, but then she gets to take a free action with it each turn. So that is phenomenal. So I don't think there's any dispute between the tote bags. The new tote bag is very, very good by turning all of those tomes into fast assets. Fantastic. So whether you use the new tote bag or not depends a lot on how bad your weakness is going to be. And it can be pretty bad. The original Necronomicon, of course, you put 3 horror on it and it cannot leave play while it has 1 horror on it. And if you drew an Elder Sign, you treated each Elder Sign you revealed on a Chaos token as an auto fail. And then you could move 1 horror from the Necronomicon to Daisy, and if it had no horror on it, you would discard it. So Daisy could use her free action each round to clear the Necronomicon pretty quickly, and the Elder Sign was just an auto fail. So if you took a test and drew an Elder Sign, no harm, no foul. You know, it's just like, okay, I failed the test. That's all that happens. Not so with the new Necronomicon. It also starts with 3 horror on it. Parallel Daisy does not have a way to... She has to take actions to remove horror from it. So she has to use one of her 3 actions each turn if she wants to clear it. So it's going to be harder for her to clear this thing quickly. And then while it is in play and has 1 horror on it, you treat each Elder Sign that you reveal on a Chaos token as a Cultist Tablet and Elder Thing, and you resolve all 3. So that is, wow. That is bad news. So what this changes, so basically you are resolving, if you draw an Elder Sign, you resolve the Cultist Tablet and Elder Thing tokens. So you're going to have a huge minus, which is bad, and you're going to trigger all of the effects for those tokens that are listed on the scenario card, which is potentially a lot worse. So not only are you auto-failing now, then you are auto-failing and you are taking it, you are really going to get pummeled by the scenario. So I took a look just to see. Here are the scenario cards from the Dunwich Legacy. So if you were to trigger, say in Miskatonic Museum, you drew an Elder Sign, you would get a total of -6. Because you were failing, you would search the discard pile and void for the hunting horror and spawn it. You would have to return one of the clues to your current location and discard an asset you control. So, wow, so you're getting an enemy, you're losing a clue and an asset all in one go because you drew an Elder Sign in the Miskatonic Museum. Essex County Express, you are down. You're basically getting a -6. You lose all your actions and end your turn. You would add a Doom to a Cultist, and you would discard a card from your hand. Blood on the Altar would be a minus... oh, I've got the harder expert one up for that. That's even worse. That's like a -7. That's a -10. You would add a clue to the token pool to your location, reveal another token, and then place a Doom on the current agenda. The Undimensioned and Unseen, you would reveal another token, and if you failed, you'd take a horror. You would get the tablet would give you a 0, and you would have to remove all clue tokens from the Brood of Yig, or take a -4. And then you'd also get a -3 due to the Elder Thing. And if you were attacking or evading, the Brood would immediately attack you. Yes, Alagon, this is the alternative version of... it is a print-and-play product, so you can head over to Fantasy Flight's website and download it as we speak. And print it off, and you have a new version of Daisy and new versions of her signature cards, as well as a scenario for you to play. Where Doom Awaits, you would reveal another token and cancel all effects and icons of each skill card. You would get a -2 from the tablet, and you would have to discard 2 cards off the top of your deck. You would get -X. X being the total resource cost of the 2 cards discard from the top of your deck. So that would be, again, pretty much an auto-fail. Things get particularly nasty in Lost in Time and Space, especially if you were playing Return to Lost in Time and Space. So if you drew a Cultist, if you drew the Elder Sign, you would trigger the Cultist. So you would... discard cards from the top of the encounter deck until a location was discarded. You would put a location and move there. Yog-Sothoth would attack you, so that would be 5 That would be minus 5 horror and 2 damage, I think, if I remember correctly. And what else? Oh, yes, you would get the Elder thing would trigger as well, and you would your location that you were on would disappear, and you would be dumped back right into Yog-Sothoth's lap. So that would be, if not fatal, very bad news. So the new, the new tote bag is clearly better than the old tote bag, but the new Necronomicon is very, very nasty, depending on the scenario you're playing. Some scenarios, it will simply be an auto fail. You'll just pull, you're going to take 3 tokens worth of negative modifiers. So then that's fine. But in some scenarios, like Lost in Time and Space, and particularly the Return 2 version where Yog-Sothoth begins in play, if you pull that Elder Sign, you are going to be in deep, deep trouble. Potentially, it would be fatal to you. Then again, the Elder Sign, there's only one in the bag, so the odds of actually pulling it are quite low. So that's the risk you take. Do you go for the new tote? This is the thing. Like, the tote bag is a 1 per deck. I have honestly never played the tote bag in any. I've never got it down on the table, I don't think, in all the games I've played. So you're basically. You would really want to make sure that you are getting value for that tote bag if you're going to play it, to take that weakness, because if you're just basically upgrading the weakness in your deck and you're not getting any value from that tote bag, it's a really bad deal. So I would, it's a tough decision. I think I would I upgrade to the tote bag? I think there's so much draw. There's a lot of draw now. There's a lot of tutors available. It's not like back in the core set days where you just, you were very limited in how much you could search your deck and draw. We've got Mr. Rook, who can basically, if you need the tote bag, you can probably get it very easily. So as long as you were able to get the tote bag out and down and then start taking those free actions with it, I think I'd be willing to risk the new Necronomicon. But if I wasn't getting it down reliably, then I wouldn't. I don't think I would bother. I'd just keep the old Necronomicon and the old tote bag. Having the ability to drop an asset fast would be. Juicy says, I think Daisy should be played as a support that doesn't test so much in multiplayer with that weakness. Yeah, you wouldn't want to. It's pretty debilitating with all those tokens. So that is a decision you will have to make. Do you play with the new tote bag and the new Necronomicon, or do you just stick to the tried and true, I guess, the devil you know? The Necronomicon is still a devil, but it's not a devil that's going to drop 3 tokens on your head and potentially kill you, depending on the scenario. So we are going to play. Read or Die. So this morning I sat down and I built a Daisy deck for the first time in ages. This deck is basically designed just to try to beat Read or Die. I'm not too sure if it would be viable in either solo or multiplayer in any other format. My plan of attack here is, for those of you who will take a look at Read or Die in a moment, but basically you need to find your tomes, get your tomes in play, and pass a massive willpower skill test. Difficulty 18. So the more tomes you have in play, the better chance you are of passing that skill test. So my plan of attack is to get the Dream Diary, 2 encyclopedias, and the Narcotic Manuscripts down on the table, and then use Daisy's special once per game ability to trigger all of them. And that will mean if you've got 4 tomes on the table, Daisy would have a willpower of 5. And then we would go, then we would pull, we would use the Dream Diary to pull Essence of a Dream, which would give us 2. We would trigger both encyclopedias, which gives us a +4. And the Narcotic Manuscripts would mean that you don't pull a Chaos token. So you would be able to pass the test without pulling from the bag. So that is what I came up with. Scroll of Prophecy. Yeah, it was... I probably missed that one when I was going through my list of cards. This is just a first draft. I'm sure there are way better iterations of it. As far as other cards, I decided to go with Shriveling largely because I can trigger it with Knowledge's Power from my hand if necessary. I don't necessarily need to play it on the table. St. Hubert's Key boosts my willpower and intellect, and it doesn't compete for hand slots with the tomes. I've got Dr. Ellie to try to pull the Narcotic Manuscripts and play it for cheap. She also triggers the searching, also triggers Astounding Revelation. We've got a couple research librarians to grab tomes as well. For enemy management, we've got Shriveling to help us, so we can either play that or we can just trigger it from hand with Knowledge's Power. We've also got I've Got a Plan. That's going to be a bit tricky. We probably want to save some clues if there are enemies, if we suspect enemies are on the table, so we can take them down with that. I think Astounding Revelation is pretty much going in every Seeker deck these days. The ability to search your deck and get resources while you're doing it is amazing. Crack Your Case as well for more resources. I think this... I mean, you've only got the Read or Die agenda has a doom threshold of 12, so I think it's going to be a real race to get it done. So I don't want to be taking actions to generate resources. So things like Astounding Revelation and Crack the Case help me do that. Knowledge's Power gives me a way to trigger my tomes if I need to, as well as my spells. And Mind Over Matter, of course, just gives us a way to test combat or agility with our intellect if necessary. Eureka has a nice icon spread and of course helps us find our tomes and also gets helps us grab also will trigger Astounding Revelation. So that's what we're going to go with. We'll see how it does. I have not played it yet, so it will be I'm very curious to see how this, the first challenge scenario goes. So let's see how we do. Just switch over here. There we go. All right. So we are set up in Octagon. So for those of you who have not seen this challenge scenario, it's basically extracurricular activities with a few cards removed and a few cards added. The map is extracurricular activities, and then the encounter deck is all of the extracurricular activity encounter cards, but the permanents are different. So Daisy begins the game with Professor Armitage in play. Professor Armitage, he does not take up an ally slot, and you have 2 additional hand slots which can only be used to hold tome assets. So between Armitage, the Daisy's tote bag, we can hold 4 tomes, and if we can get Ellie with the Narcotic Manuscripts, we can hold 5. 2, 4, no, we can hold 7 tomes. Armitage holds 2, the tote bag holds 2, Daisy holds 2, and Ellie holds 1. So we can get up to 7, which would be a -14 modifier. So we would have to pass a willpower 4 skill test rather than 18 if we can get all the tomes. That seems kind of unlikely, though. We start in play over here at the Orn Library, which is the 3 shroud location with 1 clue, and you have to spend an additional action to investigate there. We also have this this bad boy here. The Namer of the Dead, presence within the grimoire. It has 2 fight, 3 health, and 2 evade. Monster Geist Elite Hunter. Prey is Daisy only. Forced when Namer of the Dead would be defeated. Instead, fully heal it, exhaust it, and move it to the library. As an action, if you are Daisy and you control at least 4 non-weakness tome assets, you may parlay test 18 willpower. This test gets -2 difficulty for each tome asset you control. If you succeed, advance the act. I think one of the things worth noting here about this is that while your weakness does not qualify, you need to control 4 non-weakness tomes before you can parlay. If you do happen to have the Necronomicon in play, it does count for you do get a -2 out of it. So that is okay. Better than nothing, I guess. So this thing starts in play but it starts exhausted. We also have Jazz Mulligan here, the head janitor. He starts in play at the science building, and he has some special text as well. Jazz Mulligan gains action, move to a Miskatonic location up to 3 connections away. So he lets us speed around Arkham, or at least the university. But of course, we will have to. We will also have to go for. To get him. We have to parlay test 3 intellect to take control of him, and then he will let us enter all of the in extracurricular activity. There are several locked locations that don't start in play. In this, they do. So the faculty offices and the dormitories we cannot enter unless we get Jazz on our side, and we won't know what tomes because they are placed underneath all of these locations, which we will do now. You before the game begins, you remove all the tomes from your deck, shuffle them up, and place them under locations. So if I can do this properly. All right, so we start at the faculty offices and move. We place them until we get to Orn Library, and then we put any extra tomes under Orn Library. So you can have multiple tomes under Orn Library, and there is a tome at every location except Miskatonic Quad. So we will finish placing our tomes, and then I think we'll be ready to begin. Well, we'll have to draw a weakness, too. We haven't done that. It's only got 9 XP in the deck, so we don't have to draw multiple weaknesses. I figure because our deck size is a little bit smaller, I wanted to avoid having more weaknesses than necessary. So I think our plan of attack on our first turn is we investigate. That's going to take us 2 actions. Then we want to, if we can grab that clue, then we can spend it or hang on to it. Actually, I should read the Act 1A. Act 1A is speed reading. We ignore all objectives on locations. As a free triggered ability, if you are Daisy, investigators at your location may spend 1 clue per investigator to shuffle 1 face-down player card beneath this location into your deck. So that is how we get. So basically what you do, you discover the clue, You spend the clue to shuffle the card at your location into your deck. Then you draw the tome, and then you play the tome. Once you get enough tomes, you smoke the Namer of the Dead. How easy is that to do? Well, we are about to find out here. So I think the plan of attack: grab this clue, grab this card, and then move away. And then I don't know. I feel like we need Jazz. It sort of depends which tomes we get. We shall see. So let us draw a weakness. Our weakness is going to be indebted, of course, because it's me, and indebted is my weakness. So we're going to start with 2, but at least it's not in our deck. There is a Beyond the Veil in the encounter deck. I believe there are 3 of them. So that is my big fear. The card I think I fear the most in this is probably Visions of Futures Past, because it is a 5 willpower test. And if Daisy gets tagged by that early, before she has any tomes in play, man oh man, you could you may end up running out of you may have tomes in your deck and then have them discarded, at which point I think you're in deep trouble. And of course there's Beyond the Veil, which will just flat out kill you once you deck yourself. So Visions is a big fear of mine, because once you get the tomes in, you need to get them out quick so you can move on, get them into play. All right, let's draw our opening hand and see how we're going to do here. All right, so we get the tote bag, a Shriveling, a Eureka, a Shriveling, and St. Hubert's Key. I'm going to pitch and a Eureka. We are going to keep St. Hubert's Key and the tote bag. Shriveling. Do we keep the Shriveling? Yeah, Deny Existence would be good too. I don't think we need the Eureka right away. I'm going to pitch the Shriveling, because it's not going to do us any good with 1 willpower. We drew an Astounding. That sucks. I've got a plan. All right, well, we drew an Astounding. That's not great. It is a willpower. It is an intellect skill icon. All right, let's get this started. So we are going to do first action. We are going to take first and second action, because we're at the library. We're going to make an Investigate test. We will go 6 versus 3. And Chaos Bag gives us a -1. So we grab a clue. And we will spend it to shuffle this into our deck. That is how this works, right? If you were Daisy, shuffle face down player card into your deck. All right, we have our first tome into the deck. We will move away. Now, do we go to Humanities Building first? We need to clear the quad. We can get one. I think I want to go Humanities. So this thing already, if we can grab this clue, go 1, 2 to get Jazz. hard to say without knowing which tome we've got. All right, we go to the upkeep phase. We draw a mind over matter. That will be helpful because we are probably going to need to evade this Namer of the Dead at some point here because it's going to trap us and corner us. It only hits for a damage and a horror though, so it's not awful. All right. First, Mythos Phase. Let us see how we do. We can discard a card with Henry to gain 3 resources. All right. Yeah, I think I do want Jazz just because I'm going to need to... So we get an Arcane Barrier. That really sucks. That is brutal. Test 4 willpower. Oh, crap. Or we discard top 5. Wow, that is bad. I said Visions and Futures Past was my worry, but an Arcane Barrier is also is equally bad. All right, we are at the Humanities building. Forced at the end of your turn, if you are in the Humanities building, discard X cards where X is the amount of horror. So we didn't lose any cards. However, we're going to have to discard to get out of this location. We're going to have to discard 5 cards at this point. Probably. Unless we pitch the tote bag. The tote bag might be able to get us out. I think I am going to go first action. We'll play St. Hubert's Key. So that'll bump her willpower by 1. We're up to 6. Intellect. Second action, we are going to investigate. We're going to go 6v3. That's pretty good. We get a +1. So we get another clue. Yeah, we're down to 5 sanity. I thought about playing Desperate Skills in this, but yeah, this is just the first iteration of the deck, so I'm sure there the community will come up with lots of different improvements as they play this. And I think it also depends. I mean, if you're playing a Daisy, it'll be interesting to me to see how often this gets played in actual campaigns, because I wonder if the deck that you need to beat this scenario is similar to a good campaign deck, or is it just going to be just too radically different that you would have to twist your deck into all sorts of pretzels in order to beat this thing. That will be I'm curious to find that out. So we can also, let's investigate again. We get an auto fail that time, so no clue for us. That is unfortunate. We are going to... So the Namer is going to come after us. Let's move this over here. We are going to take... let's put the sanity on him. Let's use Armitage to soak that one. And we will go to Upkeep. We get a Knowledge as power. Not helpful at the moment. Mythos Phase. We draw Light of Afargoma. Oh, geez. That's a nasty card, too. Holy crap. Put on either Agenda or Act deck. There's only one of each. So all damage and horror is direct. All damage and horror are now direct damage and horror. Wow. This could be a fast game. This could be an incredibly fast game. Holy cow. With cards like that, permanent. Guess what? You're taking direct damage for the rest of the game. And direct horror. So I guess we were... it was a good idea to use Armitage when we did, because we're not going to be able to use them again. There's no way to get rid of that thing. And there's, I think, multiples of those in the deck. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Okay. How do we get out of this mess? I think we got to play our mind over matter. We evade, we grab a clue, we trigger. We use the tote bag and maybe the knowledge's power to get out. Man, I'm glad this hit when I was over in the Humanities building, because if I'd been on the Miskatonic Quad, man, that would be crippling. I think that's what we do. So we play Mind Over Matter for one resource. So we can use our intellect in place of our agility. So we're 6 intellect. No, it's fast, so we're still evading. We still have 2 actions left. So we evade 6v2. We get a 0, so the namer is evaded. Second action, we are going to go 6v3 to grab this clue. We get a -1. Grant, the card is discarded when the agenda or act advances. Unfortunately, they don't advance in this scenario. The way they advance is if you win or you die. So, yeah, unfortunately. This is Wendy's. This is not extracurricular activity. This is Wendy's challenge scenario from the print and play. So we grab this clue. I'm going to play my Crack the Case to gain 3 resources. So we can spend a clue here to shuffle this into our deck. And then we're going to move. We are going to test 4. We are going to go Knowledge is Power, Daisy's Tote Bag, to go 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 v4. 6v4. Chaos Bag says -1. So we get out of the arcane barrier. All right. We've got a little bit of breathing room. Not much, just a little bit. And we've got a clue for I've got a plan. We draw the Narcotic Manuscripts. Okay, so we got one of our tomes. It's the expensive one, which is annoying, but we can get that down somehow in maybe next turn. Turn after that. We go to the Mythos Phase. I should flip this over. Oh, I guess you can resign. I guess you can resign. Is that an option? Is that still an option, I guess? I guess if things are going really terribly in this challenge scenario, you can resign still. So that's an option. We need to draw an encounter card. It is going to be a... Oh, no. That's not the one I wanted to see. Wow, it's pulling all the cards I really didn't want to see in this. Visions of Future Past. Test 5 willpower. My willpower is 2. Oh, it does give you the fail. Yeah, well, I assume so. Running is never a good thing, usually. So I'm testing 5v2. I did get the Narcotic Manuscripts out of my deck, though, which is good. 5v2, Chaos Bag says +1. Hey. So we end up at 3, so we only discard 2 cards. There's an Astounding Revelation. And we lost an Encyclopedia. No. So now we need an Elder Sign. Now we need an Elder Sign to get that tome back. That's too bad. We dumped 2 tomes in. We drew them both right away. Unfortunately, one of them is now in the discard pile. And we are going to need Jazz. So let's go to the Science Building. 2 Shroud location with 1 clue. When you fail a willpower skill test at the Science Building, take a direct damage. And we need Jazz. So second action will be to investigate 6v2. Chaos Bag says 0, so we get that clue. We will spend the clue to dump this into our deck. And we want to grab Jazz as well, so... Man, Jazz's health and sanity would come in handy if you could use them. We will parlay 6v3 and see if we can't take control. Oh, another. Come on, Chaos Bag. It's hard enough as it is. Multiple auto fails in the game is not nice. But it is me playing, so... My custom Manfromleng card has got to have something to do with the auto-fail token, because it happens all too frequently. Okay, we go to the enemy phase. Our friend, the Namer of the Dead, moves up to the quad. Man, it would have been nice to have grabbed Jazz there. We still don't have a very good plan against the Namer. Well, let's see what the Upkeep says. We get an Unexpected Courage. That's pretty good. That will help us with the evade on the Namer of the Dead. We go to the Mythos Phase. We can play our first tome next turn. 4 of 12 already. And we draw... Oh! When it rains, it pours. If you get Jazz, you can skip past them. What does the text say? Jazz gains move to a Miskatonic location up to 3 locations away. Yeah? I don't know. Gbort 1. I see how you're reading it. The text on Agenda 1A says Jazz Mulligan gains action, move to a Miskatonic location up to 3 connections away. So to me, I read that and say I can move to a location up to 3 locations away, but I have to move through the connecting locations to get there. That's how I would play it. However, you could also say that when you trigger it, you just get to jump there. In Rougarou, it says specifically, it says to move 1 at a time. That's true. I do remember that. Well, that's interesting. Too bad Matt isn't here. We could ask him specifically how this is to be interpreted. However, unfortunately, we have a Yithian observer now to deal with as well, which is going to be yeesh. And it's not easy to evade. In fact, it's very difficult to evade. So odds are I just get ganged up on here and I die in the science building. So if I played it... So if I was playing it where Jazz gets you to skip, if I evade the Yithian, if I parlay and then parlay with Jazz, I could trigger Jazz to basically move to the faculty offices and get away from this nonsense. That just seems too good. Like, it basically makes once you get Jazz, the namer becomes inconsequential. Because as long as you can take an action to move away. All right. Well, we've got to evade the Yithian first. And we've got to get Jazz, because if we don't get Jazz, we get locked out. We need 3 more tomes at least. And one of them has to come from one of the locked locations. So we can't win without Jazz. So instead of using my unexpected courage for the Namer of the Dead, I am using it for the Yithian Observer. We are going 4v3. Not great. Chaos Bag says -4. Yeah, I agree. It does seem odd that you would... I mean, I could see why, like, say if you lured the Namer down to the dormitories and you still had to get a card over at faculty offices where like if you needed to move, if you lure the namer down into an awkward location like faculty offices or dormitory, then Jazz gets you to the other side of the board quickly. But if the namer is sitting in the quad, he wouldn't get you. You still have to stop there and deal with it. Or you would engage it. I'm not sure. I'd have to look up the text on like moving and engaging enemies and stuff. The problem is right now we are stuck with this observer and we're just going to get pounded into dust here next this enemy phase. Let's see. Now we're just going 2v3. Those odds are terrible, but I don't have any other choice. I guess I could, like, I've got a plan. Doesn't do enough damage to kill it, though. I'd need a fully charged I've got a plan. So we'll go 2v3, -3, and -3. So a -4 and 2 -3s. During the enemy phase, the namer joins us. We get hit. What happens here? Nothing. When Yithian attacks, you discard a card at random. So we lose our tome. And then we take 1 and 1. Then we take another 1 and 1. We have 5 horror left. We've got 3 horror before our St. Hubert's key goes away. Ouch, 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 ouch. And then we draw the... well, there's a tome. There's a tome. So this just went from bad to even worse. I think we're dead. I think at this point we are well and truly screwed because we have no way of getting out of this. We've lost both of our tomes. If we trigger an Elder Sign, we discard 2 cards, we get -2, and we get -5 total, and we take a horror. Oh, yeah, we're done. We are finished. I think this is a scoop. I don't scoop often in this game, but I think this is a definite scoop. Because we are going to take another 2 damage and 2 horror. We're going to lose the key. We have no way of getting out of it. So let's scoop and try again. Yeah, the Necronomicon basically sealed the deal because there was no possibility of getting out from under the Yithian. So we'll try again. That was a short game. We can give it another shot. Where did I put the deck? That's a good question. Thought I put it on the desktop. Maybe it's in the folder. So I think, I don't know, what changes would I make? It's a bit early to say. Yeah, I think we just drew a ton of bad cards there, and I just need to look at all these for a second and pull the dream, essence of the dream out. Okay. All right, let's give this another shot. Quad, library, humanities, student union building, science building, administration building, dorms, and faculty offices. That goes there. That goes there. He goes here. She goes up to Orin Library. And we place these underneath. So they said it was a challenge scenario, and it's definitely proving to be a challenge. We drew a lot of bad cards that game. We are resetting, Ben. Yeah, we scooped. The combination of the Yithian Namer of the Dead and the Necronomicon were enough to seal the deal. We had no way of getting out from under that before they killed us. So I usually don't scoop, but that was one of those times when it seemed pretty clear the writing was on the wall. This time around, we've got a mob enforcer to deal with. So, another enemy who taxes resources. We do have Dr. Henry Armitage, though, who can get us some resources. Okay, so I want to check something before we start. I just want to see if there's something in the rules reference regarding movement that might help resolve this discussion we're having about how jazz is. Thanks, Andreas. Have a good day at work. All right, let's take a quick look here at movement and see if it has any. Move. Anytime an entity moves, transfer enemy card and character mini card from current location to different location. Unless otherwise specified by the move effect or ability, the moving entity must move to a connecting location. Connecting locations are identified on the location. Yeah. Anytime an entity moves, it is considered to leave previous location and enter the new location simultaneously. If an entity is moved to a specific location, the entity is moved directly to that location and does not pass through the other locations en route. Okay, so what does Jazz say? move to a... Okay, so according to the rules reference, I think you're right, Gbort1. Because it says if an entity is moved to a specific location, the entity is moved directly to that location and does not pass through the other locations through en route. Okay, I think that solves it. Yeah, no, I think your win was legit. Yeah, I was worried there for you because I know I hate it when I think I've won and then it turns out that I made some mistake. So that's according to the rules reference, Jazz teleports you. So Jazz gains the action move to a Miskatonic location up to 3 connections away. So once you get Jazz, you can teleport around and avoid the Namer of the Dead. So that is my plan now, is to go get Jazz. That is my first job. Because if I can get Jazz, then I can get away. I can stay ahead of the Namer. Yeah, that's true. That's true, Gbort. I think that, yeah, thematically, Jazz teleporting you around the campus would be like he does know all the back ways and all the... I know there was... the university I went to had so many freaking back ways that in the biology building, they found a classroom behind a closet once. So they were still discovering stuff years later. So we've got Mob Enforcer. Let's draw. I draw 5 cards. We get the tote bag again. We get another astounding revelation. That's definitely getting mulliganed. We'll keep the mind over matter. We get a Eureka, the research librarian, and another mind over matter. So if we get a tome right away, we've got a research librarian to grab it for us. We've got the tote bag, so we can hold a couple more tomes. Although even now, even in this scenario, the tote bag, because they give you Professor Armitage, the tote bag doesn't seem necessary because you can still have 4 tomes. I mean, you're locking both your hand slots, but you don't really need your hands if you go shriveling or whatnot. So... I don't know. Maybe the tote bag isn't that good? It does make things fast, though. That's the important part. So if you can get the tote bag down, you're saving yourself some actions. Alright. We're ready to start again. Let's see if Game 2 goes any better. Yeah, more tomes is nice. So first action and second action, we will... investigate. We are going 5v1, 5v3, sorry. Yeah, 10 willpower is that's a tough threshold to hit. 5v3 Chaos Bag says -3. I don't think I'm going to stay. Unfortunately. We'll come back with our buddy Jazz. So we get an I've got a plan. And we go to the upkeep. We draw... Pushed into the Beyond, choose and shuffle a non-story asset you control into your deck and discard the top 3 cards. He's a story asset, so I'm just discarding the top 3 cards. Unexpected Courage, Astounding Revelation, and Shriveling. Gain 3 actions. We move to the science building. 2 shroud location with 1 clue. We will attempt to gain that clue. 5v2. We do. We will spend said clue to shuffle in tome. We will attempt to grab Jazz 5v3. Yeah, 5v3. Skulls a minus X, where X is number of tome assets I control. So I get Jazz. Alright, so we've got Jazz. Now we've got freedom of movement. The namer will move in here. We go to Upkeep. We get St. Hubert's key. That's good. There's Beyond the Veil. And a Terror from Beyond. Choose one of the following card types. Asset, event, skill. Each player must discard each card in his or her hand of the chosen card type. Oh, I choose skill. I'm surprised they didn't change this card when they upgraded the treacheries. I wonder if you could play this with the upgraded treacheries from the Return 2 box. Has anybody tried that? Gbort, have you tried that yet? Swap the treacheries for different treacheries. I wonder how that would change it up. Play Return 2, Read or Die. Okay, so what we can do... we can... So we need to trigger Jazz this turn to get away. We can go down to the dormitories. I want to play my St. Hubert's key. I'm gonna... does he exhaust? No, he doesn't exhaust. Wow. Okay, so we will just move then with Jazz down to the dormitories. 1 shroud location, 3 clues. That's really good, actually. Move to dormitories, gather some clues so we can use I've Got a Plan. That's nice. Question is, do we play our research librarian? I think we do. We'll play the research librarian to go searching for our... So what we can do, after research librarian, search here for a tome deck, tome card. So we look at all. Which tome was it? Oh, he was right on the bottom too. That's too bad. It was an encyclopedia. We also get to trigger... we'll trigger an astounding revelation while we're searching to gain 2 resources. And so we've got an encyclopedia. So now if we can play the tote bag, drop the encyclopedia for free. Then we can kill off the research librarian and hopefully draw another one. All right. Oh, for Pete's sakes. Well, that's one way to get a tome. We draw the Necronomicon during the upkeep. We put 3 horror on it. I'll let Armitage. I think it's thematic that Armitage would hold the Necronomicon for us, since he's such a... That's his book. 3 of 12 Doom. Ancient Evils. 4 of 12 Doom. 3 Ancient Evils makes this game 9? 9? You gotta do it in 9? Wow. Yeah, multiplayer? Multiplayer, chances are you're gonna burn through those Ancient Evils. Okay, we get our 3 actions back. We will... actually, this thing moved here last turn. Okay, so we need to trigger Jazz once. So we need a clue. So we'll go 6 v1. That's an elder thing. That's a -3. So we pass. So we will grab a clue. We will spend the clue to shuffle the tome into our deck. Do you know what would be great? Would be Calling in Favors. Calling in Favors would be awesome now. Bounce the Research Librarian back to your hand and pull another tome. That would be awesome. Yeah, I think initially I thought, oh, maybe I can get Ellie to grab a tome for me, but I don't think that's a viable plan, because I thought when I read it initially, I thought you got to see what tome went in the deck, but it's not. You don't get to, so you have really no idea when to play Ellie. You're basically just guessing. Yeah. Calling in Favors would rock right about now. Play Calling, pull the Research Librarian back, drop the Research Librarian down, get another tome. That would be really good. We need to use Jazz at least once to stay away from the Namer. So let's play the Tote Bag. There's a first time for everything. We've got the Tote Bag. We're going to play... we could play the... We can play the Encyclopedia for free, but it's going to cost us 2 resources, but we get 1 back, so at least we'd have Mind Over Matter on. We take Horror at... I think what we do is we go Orin Library. So let's play the Encyclopedia for free. So we've got 1 tome down. We'll trigger Jazz, and we will move... to Orin. If we go to Orin Library... Faculty Offices gets us an enemy. If I remember correctly. We don't want to do that if we can help it. I think I'll go humanities. Because what I'd like to be able to do is get some clues. We can bounce back and forth between humanities and dormitories to grab some clues. So we can power up an I've got a plan, if necessary. Enemy phase, the namer is going to move up here. We draw our second research librarian. Awesome. So we could play him. Or do we need to kill him first? Can't remember. Can you replace a research librarian with a research librarian? Or does it have to be a different ally? I feel like I ran into this situation once before. I just want to check something quick. Ally, 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 asset. You can? Okay. Yeah, because that's what I would do. I don't want to have to just kill my research librarian. Right, so we go to Mythos Phase. We draw the wizard. That's annoying, and he's a hunter too. We draw the wizard. Well, we can evade the wizard with a mind over matter. Evade him, grab a clue, grab the card, teleport away. Okay, that's what we'll have to do. So we'll play mind over matter. So we're going to evade 6v3. First action. Ooh, close. -3. So 6v3 we pass. So this guy is evaded. We will investigate. Six v 3. Let's go 7v3 with Eureka. Oh, thank goodness. 7v3 and we draw -4. We pass, so we get to look at top 3. Alright. Give me another tome. There's an Ellie. Yeah, too close for sure. I think I take the Ellie. Oh, no. Crack the case would be really nice, but I need to do it at a place where I'm... Let's take the crack. We'll put Ellie back. We'll take the crack the case so we can get some more resources. We can't do it here. We'll have to wait a couple turns, but we can. So then we will move. We will spend the clue to shuffle this in. And we'll use Jazz to move back to the dormitories. And the namer will go there. We draw our shriveling. Yeah, but if I went there, the namer shows up there. I'm sort of losing a turn, but so I think I go. So everybody's gonna. All the enemies are gonna meet at Miskatonic Quad next turn. It's funny you can hide out in the dormitories. Let's use what are we doing here? No, we need to go upkeep. 6 of 12. We draw. Oh, there's visions. Shoot. We don't have anything to pass that either. Actually, +1 for each tome. So we have 2 tomes in play. So we're a 4. So we're actually not that bad. Not as bad as I thought, anyway. We don't have anything we can commit to that, so it's 4v5. And we draw 0, so we're only losing a card. We lose a Eureka. So that was close. Let's use Jazz to go to the admin building. 4 shroud location with 1 clue. Gotta discard a card here, though. We could double Jazz if necessary. We can get 4 resources, too. I think we have 1 tome. 1 tome in the deck. So if we clear this location, crack the case for 4 resources, dump the research librarian to grab that book out of our deck, then wait, discard with admin building. Next turn, we spend the clue to dump the tome back in our deck, so we can leave the admin building without losing the tome. So we're going 6v4. 6v4 Chaos Bag says -4, so that isn't going to work. Shoot. Now I'm risking losing the tome. Well, we have to clear this location. 6v4 -3. Man, I'm getting bad pulls. So that kind of sucks. Is it the end of our turn? We lose a card. We lose an astounding. Okay, so it didn't hurt us. Enemy phase. Everybody congregates up at Miskatonic Quad. We draw an unexpected courage during the Mythos phase. Or during upkeep, sorry. We go to Mythos. 7 of 12. We draw an arcane barrier. Shoot. That's bad, bad. But we're at 4. We could be at 5. So let's investigate. We'll investigate. We'll commit the unexpected courage to go 8v4. Chaos Bag gives us a skull. That's a -2 because we have 2 tomes. So we succeed. We grab this clue. We play Crack the Case for 4 resources. We drop the Research Librarian now. We need to move once. Play Research Librarian. Overwriting Research Librarian. To search our deck. We have a tome in our deck, I thought. Yes, we have the Old Book of Lore. I think there was an Astounding in there, isn't there? I almost don't want to trigger the Astounding. No, there wasn't there was no Astounding. Okay. That was our second action. Fast, we dropped the Old Book of Lore on Daisy on the tote bag. We free trigger to put this tome in our deck. And we have 1 action remaining. Do we go... no, I didn't. It's 3. We still have enough for a Mind Over Matter. If we move to the faculty offices, we'll pull a Thrall, which we could evade. We'd take a damage, but that's fine. Let the Thrall hit us once. Evade the Thrall. Grab a clue. Yeah, I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to move. I do have a plan, but I need clues to trigger I've had a plan. I can only deal 1 damage with it right now, which isn't enough, but I can evade with the Mind Over Matter. I'm going to have to go fetch a Thrall, but... We can go find a humanoid. I was going to get a locked door. Oh, that would have been... Oh, I've got the freaking arcane barrier to deal with, too. Okay, first of all, I have to see if I... Arcane barrier, I am at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 V4. 5 V4 to move for free. That is a -3. That is not good. Okay, I'm going to have to cancel that move. Because I cannot afford to lose 5 cards. So we will shuffle the encounter deck since I looked at it. So during the enemy phase I get jumped. That's going to be tricky. Those arcane barriers are tough. Especially when you're 1 willpower Daisy. So I get jumped. The research librarian has done his job, so he dies. And I take a damage and a couple horror. We can put... like that. We still need 2 more tomes before we can even try to test. And even then, we'd only be at 12. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Still a willpower 8 test. Wow. That is rough. Okay, well, we get Ellie. That might be okay if we find the right tome. Yeah, I think it really needs will. You really need more willpower. Because the arcane you need to get through the arcane barriers. You need to have enough for the willpower test at the end, and you need to protect yourself from visions. If you don't have the willpower, you're in deep trouble. Okay, well, we're going to go to the Mythos phase. We have a plan to get out next turn, but we may not be able to. We draw a locked door. That's... this shouldn't have clues on it. So the locked door goes to the dormitories. And now it is our turn again, so we will go mind over matter. We need to evade 6v2 versus the Namer. We get a -1, so the Namer is evaded. We're going 6v3 to evade the Wizard. The Wizard is evaded. We triggered Jazz to move. We will commit Ellie to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 V4. Chaos Bag says, oh, damn it. Can't do anything about that, unfortunately. So, if I lose 5 cards, I'm down to 4 cards. If I stay, I'm dead. If I leave, I'm dead, I think. I think I've got a... Well, yeah. I think I have to move. I can't stay. If I stay, I just get beat up. So we'll move to Oran Library. We'll lose the 5 cards. So we lose Ellie. We lose a Knowledge's Power. We lose I've Got a Plan. We lose Knowledge's Power. We lose a Mob Enforcer. So we didn't discard. We've got 4 cards in our deck, and we've got 1 tome in there. So it's not we managed to get out of that, but we're going to die due to Beyond the Veil. So yeah, Deny Existence is very helpful. Yeah, but it's not. I'm also need those. I need the tomes on the table too. That's the problem. Okay, so we moved away. We did that. Enemy phase, we draw St. Hubert's Key. Upkeep phase, sorry, we draw St. Hubert's Key. We go to the Mythos phase. 9 of 12. We get a... Oh, yeah, Push to the Beyond is gonna... Push to the Beyond is gonna kill us. Yeah, you can't resign, Juicy. It'll just say, oh, if you resigned, you lose anyway. The Namer of the Dead goes and destroys campus or whatnot. Okay, well, I think that's going to be the end of us here, because we get to shuffle a non-story asset you control into your deck and discard the top 3 cards. So we can, I guess, the key. So we lose the encyclopedia. Oh, there were 2 tomes in there. Oh. We had the win. We lose, so we lost 2 tomes. We didn't trigger Pushed into the Beyond, though, so we don't take the 2 horror. Unfortunately, we die next turn. As soon as we draw the St. Hubert's Key back, we're dead. Oh, that's too bad. So let's just take the 2. Well, maybe not. We're not dead, but we can't win. We're at a point where we can't win. We can take the 2 actions to try to investigate. Now we're going 5v3. Chaos Bag says -1, so we do get a clue. We can shuffle this card into our deck. And then... we can jazz to the Students' Union. And then these 2 guys move up here. I draw the same here. So this is a tome. The last card in my deck is a tome. So I needed 2 tomes to win. So, yeah. We'll play out the Mythos phase and see what more terrible stuff has for us. We get an Eager for Death. Test 2 willpower. We are at 1, 2, 3, 4 willpower. 4v2. We pass, but yeah, we're dead at the during upkeep. So, well, we can shuffle a tome in, but it doesn't do us any good. How many tomes do we have left? Just the 2, right? Oh, that's bad. Where's my ban button? Gbort. Man. No problem. No problem. Well, let's play it out. We'll finish this game. We've got first action. We'll investigate 3v1 or 5v1. Cultists are reveal another token, and this will kill us if we fail this. Let's see, top 1 -2, so we pass. So we grab a clue, we shuffle this into our deck. So basically, we can get another tome down. So we've got we have a deck, 2 cards in our deck, and 1 is a tomb. You know what would be awesome is a Quantum Reflux. Quantum Reflux about now would be, is it Quantum Reflux or am I totally butchering that? Quantum Flux, not Reflux. Reflux is something different. Quantum Flux. Yeah, Quantum Flux would be a very nice card to have right now. So I can draw a card and play a tome for free, but then we'll die at the end of the turn. Let's use Jazz. Let's move to the faculty offices. Now we get a... Ooh, Visions of Futures. There was Visions of Futures Past on top, Offer of Power, and then another Visions. Nasty, nasty, nasty. Let's shuffle that up. So we get a Thrall. We get a Thrall. It spawns here. Yeah. Okay. Fast. Okay, so we go to the enemy phase. So we get the Scroll of Secrets. And we can play it for free. So we take a damage and a horror. That's no problem. Then we go to we went to Upkeep already. We drew that. We go to Mythos. 11 of 12. We would have to win it. We get another Beyond the Veil. Doesn't matter, though. We get a Yithian. Yeah, so we'll use Daisy's tote bag to drop another scroll of secrets. So we managed, before we died, we managed to get 3 tomes out of the 4 we needed. So we would have, if we had managed to get the last tome, which was it? It was a dream diary. We would have gone, let's say we would have taken a ton of damage in horror this turn. I don't know if we would have survived. We would have taken too much damage in horror, I think. How much was it? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 horror. No, we would have survived. We would have survived the hit. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. Yeah, if we had more cards in our deck, we could have made the parlay test next turn. Yeah, we're dead because we die in the upkeep phase. I'm just saying, if we had more cards in our deck, say another card in our deck, if we had one more card in our deck, we would have drawn the Dream Diary next turn during our upkeep. We would have taken a hellacious amount of damage and horror, but we would have lived. We would have Dream Diaried the dream, or Daisy's tote bagged out the diary. We would have triggered Daisy's ability to trigger, we would have gone Encyclopedia. So we would have had 5 tomes out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it would have been minus 10. So it would have been an 8. The parlay test would have been an 8. We would have had an essence. What was our willpower be? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Willpower 8. We would have been willpower 5. It would have been 5v8, and we would have had. We would have been 5, 6, 7, 8, 9v8. So if we had one card in our deck, we could have gone 9v8 next turn for the win. And then we could have committed both St. Hubert's keys to go 11v8, and we would have won. Just that one card in the deck. That's all we needed. So yeah, this is they said it was a challenge scenario, and it is definitely challenging. I think with now that I have had a chance to play it, I think more willpower is needed. Any of the tricks to get around Beyond the Veil, I mean, Quantum Flux or some way to reshuffle your deck would be very helpful. Deny Existence to prevent it would have been helpful. Yeah, any of those cards would have given us a shot. So yeah, this is only... Yeah, it is definitely a puzzle G-board. It's fun, actually. I quite like this scenario. I'll see how we'll see how once I make some changes to the deck, and we'll see how it plays out next time. But yeah, we got close. I mean, there was only 9 XP in this deck, so certainly not the soup. You could certainly soup it up a lot more for a standalone version, and yeah, it is free. That's true too. It's free scenarios are awesome scenarios. So I think that's going to do it for this stream. We came awfully close the second game. Very bad first game, but we came very close to beating it on the second go round. With a few tweaks to the deck, I think you can definitely beat this in solo with Daisy. Yeah, pack the deck. Like if there had been one more weakness in the deck, right? Even a weakness in the deck would have been enough. I just needed one card. So yeah, I think you can definitely beat it solo with Daisy. I just need to make some changes to the deck. Yeah, you could also go versatile, right? You could just use versatile to jam another 10 cards in there, and Beyond the Veil I don't think would be an issue, because you'd probably lose to dooming out before Beyond the Veil killed you. So yeah, just a few tweaks, and I think it's definitely beatable. So that is Parallel Daisy. I hope you enjoyed this stream. Looking forward to seeing more of these parallel investigators in the months to come. I think it's an incredible value. You get a parallel investigator, advanced signature cards, and a scenario. I mean, you can't beat that for print and play. And who knows who's next? Maybe we see another core set investigator. Maybe we see one from a later expansion. You never know what the powers that be at FFG have up their sleeve. So I will be back. I may do something. I have an idea for something I want to do here, maybe tomorrow. We'll see. But I hope that you enjoyed this stream. I will be back soon with more Arkham Horror LCG content. Remember, if you enjoy this content, to like, comment, and subscribe. It helps the channel out a great deal. Also, head over to Patreon to support the channel's goals and get your name on the list of supporters. That would be awesome of you. And I will see you next time here on The Whisper in Darkness with some more Arkham Horror LCG. Take care until then. That's going to do it for this stream. If you enjoyed it, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. If you need to contact me, I could be reached at manfromleng@gmail.com. I am also on Twitter at manfromleng. Until the stars are right, keep your shotgun close and your elder sign closer. Take care out there, and happy investigating.